Cool. So this is designed to be from 6 to 8. So everybody's going to be starting at 6 with a meal. It's designed to be from 6 to 8. So that's just kind of a timing thing for you. Okay, so on your table, you've got the setup. That is for you to keep. That's how you'll set things up from your basket. You also have a leader guide. So this is your everything you need to do Passover in your home. There are details in here that will help you set up. If you'll go to the very first page there's a setup checklist, and it has everything that you'll need to do, just going through your basket and making sure that you have everything. And then there's cleanup instructions. So some of this stuff we're going to want back, and it'll just be as simple as you putting it back in the basket and bringing it back up to the church office. There's also, if you'll notice, in the very back of your guide, you're all going to be experts in Hebrew. By the time you finish with Passover, there's a glossary of terms. So those are two really great resources for you. Really, the rest of the leader guide is what's called a Haggadah, and the Haggadah is really what makes this foolproof. Okay, anybody can be handed a Haggadah and make an effort at going through the Passover. Okay, it lays everything out, from what you say to what other people say to what you do. Everything in there is laid out. So you really, really need to concentrate on the Haggadah, and like I said, you'll be a Hebrew expert. But these are all words that are within the Haggadah. And don't get startled. The Haggadah does sometimes reference Jesus as Yeshua. It is the same person. So don't freak out there. Okay. So that's what you have in front of you. So let's go through the actual Haggadah real quick, and then we'll see if you have questions at the end. So again, this is going to be something like what your table setup is going to look like. Hopefully we've made it to where this can sit on a coffee table or an ottoman or a dinner table, whatever. You set it up, whatever is most convenient for people to kind of gather around. You guys good? Everybody good? Okay. So let's go to that first page of the Haggadah where there is a welcome and an introduction. One of the first things you're going to do before you're going to get started, there's a few roles that need to be assigned for the Passover Seder. The first role is going to be the leader. Now, what you'll have in your, if you remember last year, we had every leader wear a kittel. This was it's spoken of in the scriptures that Jesus wore this. This is the garment that he took off. It's a funeral garment. It's a priestly garment. This is the garment that establishes the head of the household. So this is the garment that the father in a Jewish family would put on in order to lead. It just establishes him, sets him apart as a lead. It's cool though. You'll see within the context of Passover that Jesus removes this this priestly garment and becomes a servant as he washes people's feet. So we'll have the leader that'll wear this, and you'll do everything under leader. You're going to be the one that walks your group through the Haggadah. So if you've got multiple leaders in your group, just establish, okay, who's going to play that role. The second role that you'll need to fill is the eldest female in your group. Now, it might not be the best idea to go around the room and asking the ladies how old they are to figure out who to lead, but just establish the matriarch of the group, and she will actually be doing the very first piece. You'll see she's going to light the candle and bring a blessing. It's cool because she lights the candle, and it's a woman that brought the light of the world into existence. So there's just so many things. You're going to see there's so many things throughout this that will be speaking of Jesus. So you'll need the female, the leader, and then you'll also need someone to be the child. So what we've said is just the youngest participant, because all these groups are going to vary. So you'll need the matriarch, the leader, preferably the patriarch, but it totally doesn't matter. And then you'll need the youngest participant, and they're going to ask the 4 questions when we get there. So the design, obviously, is that this is within the context of a family, and the child would ask the father, why are we doing things differently on this night? And the whole meal is designed around the father answering the questions of why tonight is different than any other night. So you'll have all of those roles present with your group. So go ahead and assign those before you get started. And those are that's it. That's the 3 roles. You'll need to explain to people that this is interactive. They will have one of these right here, and this is just the participant Haggadah. It's essentially everything that you have, except for some of the leader notes. So they will be going through this with you. Now, I will tell you, your page numbers don't match theirs, so don't tell them page 2. They're going to be lost if you do that. So just reference by the place that you're at in the Haggadah. But encourage them. They need to be following along because this is interactive. So the leader will say something, they'll say something back. And if they're not paying attention, they'll miss it. So leaders, you may have to just pause for a little bit, maybe even nudge them. This is your part, and they'll catch on. There's lots of interaction throughout the evening. So let's just go to the beginning. The very first thing that will happen is the eldest female is going to light the candles. Obviously, you're going to read the welcome. You're going to read everything there that's in normal print. Anything that's in italics is an action. So if you see italics, that's the action that you do. So you'll just for the first one, the leader will say, as we kindle the festival lights, we pray for the illumination of the Spirit of God to bring great personal meaning to this, our Passover celebration. See, and that's the point where the eldest female will read the blessing of the candles, which is below, and she'll light the candle. So you'll see that's kind of how the whole thing will go. The italics of the actions, and she'll read the blessing of the candle as she lights the candle, and then the leader there picks up. Does that make sense? Just kind of as a format for how the evening is going to go. Can I get some nods? Okay, you guys good? Okay. All right. So then you're going to go through the 4 cups of wine. We're going to be that's the next section. I'm not going to go through all of this. You guys can experience it, read through it. There will be the leader, and then there's the first point where everybody speaks, is right there after the leader speaks on the page with 4 cups of wine. You'll make sure there on the cup of sanctification, you're going to pass the bowl of communion cups, and each participant will take one, and that will be their glass for the night. This is done in a variety of different ways, but we thought this would be much easier in a living room setting than having glasses like this and passing those around, and much more sanitary. Anyway, so hopefully that works. But that's what your communion cups are for. Everybody gets 4 of them, okay? So everybody will get 4 communion cups, and that's the point where you pass those out. So you'll go through, you'll wash hands. That's where this bowl of water will be. You'll pass that around. You'll pass, again, just kind of keep going. I'm going to move through this quickly. You go through the section of washing your hands, the parsley. Go to the next page. This is the point where the 4 questions are asked. And this is where you'll have the youngest participant rises to ask the 4 questions, and you'll see there at the beginning, how different is this night from all other nights? So the idea there is the child is noticing that the night is different and asks questions around all of the differences, okay? And then the leader the rest of the time is the leader answering those questions. So the leader will begin. He'll talk about the matzah. You will have matzah, and you'll have the bag which the matzah goes in here, and then we will provide the matzah for you. It's in packages, so you'll get more than you need. So just distribute as you need that, but make sure in your bag you have 3. So you'll need to have 3 within your bag. But all that instruction is in there. Okay. So you'll do the matzah piece, and there's a point here where, and look at the bottom of the next page where it says leader removing and breaking the middle matzah in half. The middle matzah is the afikomen. This is what will be put away and hidden the rest of the meal. This is the part that communion comes from. So you're going to have this moment. It's just warning you. It feels like all of the momentum is coming up to eating it, but you don't eat it. So at the bottom of the page, it says, do not eat the bread here. Okay, so just notice that note. And so the Father will hide the afikomen, symbolizing the body of Jesus, which was hidden in the grave, and it will come at a later time. So the maror. Now, I will tell you this: when you get to the section of the maror, this is horseradish. Okay, it is hot. Now, I don't know, you different tolerances in the room. Please warn people not to take a massive bite of this. The idea is obviously to feel the pain. So if you say that, there's going to be those in the group that are like, oh yeah, give me, try to prove something. But you need to make sure that you note that especially if you have kids in the room, make sure that they know this is hot. Parents, this is hot. So just make sure you know that there. So that's the maror. You'll talk about reclining. There's a long section here after the we dip twice, tonight we recline, going to the next page, the story of Passover. It's a long section that the leader will read. And then you'll go into the cup of plagues. Now, this is where it gets really back and forth, interactive through the cup of plagues. You're going to talk about all of the plagues, and your group is going to be dipping their finger into their cup and putting a drop on their plate. Every group member is going to have an individual plate, so they don't spill, and they can kind of have everything right there. And they'll be putting their finger in, as you remember each of the plagues, putting their finger in the cup and then pouring it out on the plate, remembering the anguish of the plagues. So they'll also just so you know, they'll have those plates. Then you'll go to the Passover lamb, and this is where you will have the shank bone of the lamb. Now I do not have the shank bone of the lamb right here. We didn't want to waste one, but you will have that on your plate in your basket provided for you. This is the shank bone for today. So you'll have that. So keep going, and then you're going to get to everybody's favorite part, Daenu. Okay. Now this is the part where Daenu means it would have been sufficient, and you're just gonna recount the blessing of God, and the group is going to respond back. Daenu, if the first one there, if the Lord had merely rescued us but had not judged the Egyptians, it would have been sufficient. And you're going to keep going. If He'd only destroyed their gods and not part of the Red Sea, it would have been sufficient. I will say, there is at the end of that where it says, drink a second cup and play Daenu from the Passover song CD. That's right, we've provided for your entertainment a Passover song CD. So this will also be in your basket. So just kind of familiarize yourself with the tracks. There's just two tracks. And they'll be in order of the way you'll use them. So the first one will be Daenu, and just have fun with it, man. Just have fun with it. This is a celebration, and it's a fun song. So. But that will also be included. So as part of your preparation, figure out how you can play a CD where you're going to have people. If that's a major issue for somebody, let us know, and we can figure something else out. So just a warning there that's going to happen. Okay, so at that point is when, if you wanted to do this traditionally, this is the point where you would stop and, well, I say stop. You're not going to stop, but this is the point within the Passover Seder where you would eat the meal. So it'd be completely appropriate at this point to then eat the meal, to stop, and to fellowship. I would tell you this, though. If you choose to eat in the context of the Seder, please be aware of time, because it'd be easy to get for that to really end up being long, and then you not have enough time to finish, and you need to finish. This is what we really want to be here for. So please be aware of time. Remember, 6 to 8, and at 8 o'clock, people need to feel like they can leave. So, but that's the appropriate time, because the afikomen, the dessert, is technically after the meal. This is where after the meal He begins communion. So this is where communion is taken from, is after the meal. But again, feel free to just make that note there and say, hey, this is typically where people would eat. We're not going to do that. We're going to eat at the end for time's sake, or we've already eaten. And feel free to cater that to your group. Then you're going to go through into the cup of redemption, and that's where there's going to be the communion cups. And you can do this however you want. You can pass all 4 out at the beginning, or you can pass them as the night goes and as they use them. Either one is fine. But there are, just a note about the communion cups, some of you will have them where the communion wafer will be on the top. just ignore that. You don't need it. Just ignore that. It was left over from another time. Not left over from many years ago or anything, but anyway, just ignore that. They don't need to use that. They will actually have the unleavened bread to use. So that's the cup of redemption. And then the cup of praise, which again, is you can see is very highly interactive, talking about his love endures forever from the Psalms. That's a fun time. This is an interesting meal because you go from, you really kind of hit all gamut of emotions. I mean, you'll see there's the plagues, recounting the plagues is tough. I mean, you're going to talk about some hard things within the plagues. You're going to say it would have been enough. Then you're going to come into this moment of praise that his love endures forever. So it's a really interesting meal. And then as you begin to see Jesus in all of it, it's very powerful. So excited for you guys to get to do it. At the end there, you're going to, the last thing that is read by all, blessed are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. You'll all drink that last cup, and then the leader will say, our Passover Seder is now complete, just as our redemption is forever complete. Let us conclude with the traditional wish that we may celebrate Passover next year in Jerusalem. And then you will play another wonderful song, encourage people to get up and dance. I know we're Baptists, but get up and dance. So anyway, I'm just kidding. But it's a wonderful song, and that'll be the second song there. It's a lot of fun. Right after that's your glossary of terms. Again, just familiarize yourself with that as people ask or may ask. It's good to know. So that's the Haggadah. Okay, so that will give you hopefully what that empowers you to do is just take this and with very little preparation, you should be able to open this and just conduct it by reading through it. I would recommend you leaders arriving at your home about 15 minutes early, just to make sure that the host, obviously if that's appropriate with the host, to make sure the host has everything set up. They may need some help getting chairs or whatever set up the way that they want. But making sure that's all ready to go. And I would also recommend you taking the time. We didn't go over it in detail here. Read through this. Just kind of scan through it, read it, so you're familiar, especially if you're going to be the leader. And you guys might want to decide that tonight in your group. But if you're going to be the leader, especially be familiar with this. In the case where your group has multiple leaders, there may be a host, there may be leaders, there may be a few of you in a home. You guys can decide how you want to do it. If you want to change leaders just for someone else to get to experience that, that's totally okay. Please feel free to do that. I know in our college groups we have multiple leaders, so that's completely fine if you guys want to do that. So that's the Haggadah, and I believe that's all I need to tell you. Remember your Sunday pickup, Sunday in A207. You can't miss it. We'll be out in the hall making sure that you know where to go, and you'll get these baskets. If you can't pick that up, arrange for someone to do so. Some of the items will come pre-done like this. So hosts, you may want to grab a spoon or something that might make it easier to serve a few of these different things. And one last thing to distinguish: there is a bowl of salt water, which will represent tears, and you'll dip the parsley in that. So please distinguish between, there are 2 bowls of water, one of them, and we'll provide the salt packets, one of them is salt water, one of them is for washing of hands. So there will be a towel in there as well. Yeah, so you'll even have the towel. So 2 deals of water there. Okay, so now I think just wanting to answer your questions. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that I missed or from the team? Anybody? You might have done this, but can you explain when you hide and when you show it again? Okay, yeah. The afikomen, you'll break. We can go to the specific page. It may take me a second to find it. But when you break the middle piece of matzah, okay, and it's that point where I told you it's going to feel like you're supposed to. It's right before the maror. You're going to feel like the momentum is to eat it and you don't eat it. It's the middle piece of matzah. You're gonna break it, and you just break it in half, and that's when you'll say a few things, but that's when you're going to wrap it and hide it. And the traditional game, which we're not going to do, but traditionally what would happen is the father would hide it, and then the kids would go and find it, and they would have to pay a ransom for it to come out. So. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There will be, yeah, perfect. If you and you will, some of your groups are going to have kids, and parents in the room are going to have to obviously help their kids through that. But this is designed for all generations. So as the kids are there, involve them. Especially some of the reading parts. The youngest, grab one of the kids to do that. But if you want to include that, it's as simple as putting it away, and then it being a game of and make it quick, but being a game of, okay, kids, it's been hidden. Where is it? And then them bringing it back to the Father. And I will say this too with the afikomen. The first time you're going to break it, just break it in half and hide a portion of it. But when you come to the point where you break it and distribute it to everybody to eat, traditionally the way that would be done, instead of just like breaking it in half, it would be crushing it with your fist. So you're going to break it in half once, but then to get enough pieces for everybody, what would have happened is it would have been crushed. Of course, we see this in Isaiah 53 that he was crushed, and this is his body being crushed. So you just feel free. It's a powerful moment within the Passover when the leader takes the bread in his hand and crushes it with his fist and it shatters. So just a note there. What other questions do you have? You asking what is the traditional meal? You guys are going to have taco salad, which is the traditional. I'm just kidding. It's not it's the easiest thing we could do anyway. Everybody else will just be doing potluck. If you want to do meals, and again, it's a great element and should fit well within your 2-hour time frame, but you just do potluck. We don't want this to be on the host to cook everything. Just have people bring stuff and do potluck. Cool? And any supplies that you need, please let us know if we can help. We don't want you to host. We don't want you to be totally overwhelmed doing this, but anything that you need, please let me know. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
You meant, we drink from the 4 cups throughout the Seder. Is it kind of just you take a sip, or is it you intake the whole?
Leaders, you'll drink from these cups, and yeah, just take a sip. It's more full just for look. You're not going to actually consume all of that, but your participants, your participants will have the communion cups, so they'll drink all of that. Obviously, I mean, don't ration the communion cups. Any other questions? These are good questions.
What was the traditional meal? Like, what was the Passover meal?
It would have been obviously a kosher meal, no leaven. Would have featured a meat primarily. So, yeah, but taco meat, taco salad, traditional Jewish meal.